Simulation Theory by Jonathan Lippy, Chapter 10, Part 2, Science Future, Science Featured. From here on out, let us call science fiction films science future or science featured films. Armageddon and Deep Impact. Asteroid Impact films. How interesting is it that two movies came out at the same time, 1998. 1 year prior, there was an announcement on television that an asteroid named 1997 XF-11 would come between the Moon and the Earth in the year 2028. This asteroid was discovered in 1990, but announced publicly in 1997. The following year after the announcement, we don't only have one Hollywood film, but two asteroid impact movies releasing almost simultaneously. Simone, Sim 1. In real life, Ray Kurzweil created an artificial intelligent avatar named Ramona that used to act as a search engine guide for the website http://www.kurzweilai.net. The name Ramona is the female equivalent to Raymond, his name. In the movie, Simone is a compound word of Sim 1, so the similarity to it being based on Kurzweil's creation is there. Ramona isn't famous like Simone was in the movie, but one could say the passion Al Pacino's character had for advancing future technology is similar to Kurzweil's. How do we know the people we see on TV are real? On some of the cutscenes in games I have for the Microsoft Xbox 360, I can't tell if they are computer generated or real actors, actresses. One of Kurzweil's stated goals in real life is to make virtual reality so believable that you can no longer tell the difference between real life and VR. I can't wait. I, Robot. In real life, there is a book entitled I, Cyborg, written by Peter Warwick, professor of cybernetics. The stuff Peter Warwick does to his body is amazing. It is far more bizarre than anything in the movie I, Robot because it is real. I, Robot is science future, not fiction. It probably won't be exactly like it is in the movie, but the idea of corporations creating robots for financial gain at the expense of mankind is real. I'm all for the responsible advancement of technology. Kevin Warwick is a real human cyborg. He surgically implanted electrodes in his wrist and attached his body to the internet. While connected to the net in New York, he had somebody across the ocean in Europe move his fingers through a computer. Warwick explained in a radio interview on Coast to Coast AM with George Norrie that the robots in real life are coming and there is no stopping it because of the money that is being made. He pointed out that even if he stopped making robots, you cannot stop all the other groups of people developing them because the money to be made from this is astronomical. He spends his time developing ways to become more of a cyborg so he can compete on Earth with them. He mentions that it is a decision all humans will have to make. Will you become a cyborg or be a second-class species on Earth? So while iRobot was entertaining with all of the action involved, I went to see it because of the information I had hoped to gain. Cybernetics is the coolest sounding area of study. In real life, Peter Warwick can say, I am the professor of cybernetics and a cyborg. http://www.kevinwarwick.com. Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. The movie speaks for itself. The dual legacy of the Force and the dual legacy of dictatorships and democracies. The path to the dark side. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. This movie came out around the time iRobot came out. There was a scene in iRobot that had a secret warehouse filled with robots waiting to be deployed. In Attack of the Clones, there was a planet where Jango Fett clones were all stored, ready for deployment in the upcoming Clone Wars. When I see things in multiple movies simultaneously, I begin to question what is really going on. I think back to growing up in the 80s with robots in abundance in our culture. Johnny Five from Short Circuit, the Pee Wee Herman alien robot in Flight of the Navigator, Transformers, RoboCop, Omnibot, all of the stuff on the TV show Beyond 2000, etc. Even the old shows like Buck Rogers and others had robots. Then all of a sudden, robots disappeared. Where did they all go? They're making a comeback. It's like a trick played on your mind. You see physical working robots and are told, in the future, these things will exist. It is presented like they don't already exist, yet you're looking at them right there with your own eyes. They exist, the humanoid ones, not just the car manufacturing ones. Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. The humans and aliens living on Tatooine appear poor and relatively uneducated as far as awareness of the political factors that govern their universe. They have no knowledge about the intergalactic Senate and trade federations who are deciding the fate of their lives in the outer space court system. Likewise, on Earth, humans have no idea about how local or world government works, global banking systems, global trade, deficits, multinational corporations, and other macroeconomic factors that affect everything about our lives. I'm one of them. The politics and intergalactic trade subplots of the prequels were very interesting. The most important line in Phantom Menace was when Qui-Gon Jinn gives advice to Anakin before the pod race. Feel, don't think, and your focus becomes your reality. Whenever you finish reading today, meditate on that idea. Your focus becomes your reality. Do an internet search on that quote. Many other people found that line to be profound. Star Wars Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back. Yoda teaching Luke about the Force was my Sunday school growing up. It is my religion. This quote is one of the greatest things ever said. Size matters not. Look at me. Judge me by my size, do you? And well, you should not. For my ally is the Force, and a powerful ally it is. Life creates it, makes it grow. Its energy surrounds us and binds us. Luminous beings are we, not this crude matter. You must feel the Force around you, here, between you, me, the tree, the rock, everywhere, yes, even between the land and the ship. In Yoda's teachings to Luke, he mentions to Luke that he must forget all that he has learned to be true in order to learn the ways of the Force. Mankind is told a lie about our potential in life. We are taught limitations. Because Luke was a human learning the ways of the Jedi, he had to be deconditioned of the doubts and lack of self-confidence. In Matrix, Neo had to go through the same trial of learning that everything he knew about life wasn't true. Neo failed the jump program on his first try, and Luke failed that first too. Think about your own life now. How much of what you believe isn't exactly accurate? How do these inaccuracies limit your abilities? Star Wars Episode 6, Return of the Jedi. The Force. Star Wars is the new religion. Star Wars and the Matrix. Men in Black. A person is smart. People are dumb. Everything they've ever known has proven to be wrong. 1,000 years ago, everyone knew as a fact that the Earth was the center of the universe. 500 years ago, they knew it was flat. 15 minutes ago, you knew we humans were alone on it. Imagine what you'll know tomorrow. 007, Die Another Day. James Bond movies are showcases for the latest in breaking technology, cleverly disguised as fiction. In this film, there is a car that can become invisible. This technology is known as optical camouflage. You too can have a car that is invisible. Harry Potter also had a cape that would turn him invisible. It is real. Watch films as advertisements for the latest technology. The optical camouflage is used in spy planes in real life. OLEDs were showcased in the film, as well as on the shaver and the car. When you research something and it says it is real only in theory, it means that it is a current secret project. If something is possible in theory, it is possible in practice. There was a weapon used in this movie called the Icarus. It uses mirrors to focus sunlight on the planet. It showed how the focused energy can burn Earth's surface. There is a project in real life known as HARP that loosely resembles this. www.harp.alaska.edu. The core. When the core stops spinning, the electromagnetics of the Earth cease to function and all of the birds start crashing. People with pacemakers drop dead, and a bunch of other problems happen. When the sky opens up, the sunlight comes through and burns the surface, and what is shown looks very similar to the Icarus weapon in 007 Die Another Day. Both of these movies came out around the same time, and noticing the similarities in these movies of the effects of the sun on the surface caused me to pause and say, oh really? Seeing it once is one thing. When you see it in a second movie around the same time, you get curious. Wikipedia has excellent, thorough explanations of these movies and the technologies. Sphere. In real life, I had heard of a story of a sphere found in the Pacific Ocean off the coast of California. I only heard about it once, and never again. Then the movie came out. Interesting. Loosely based on a possible true story. The guy's fears manifested into reality in the film. This is a recurring theme once again. The subconscious creates reality. The movie was created to cause anyone who remembers hearing about the real-life sphere to think of the movie and forget about the real event. All of these movies are like that, to get you to think it happened in a movie and not real life. Contact. SETI is a real organization. It is featured in the movie. They have been in operation for over 20 years. How could they continuously receive funding that long if they haven't had any success? The wormhole-creating space travel machine at the end of the movie looks exactly like the wormhole-creating machine in the movie Event Horizon. I guess the theory behind the machine is it uses rotating magnetic gravitational fields to bend space. The movie mentions that we have been broadcasting into space since broadcasting began. This idea is also presented in the newer Planet of the Apes remake movie. Again, repeating ideas. Event Horizon. The rotating magnet gravity machine is the same thing in Contact as mentioned above. I saw both movies in the same week. I was baffled. Sam Neill explaining how to warp space by bringing the 2 points together in a nonlinear fashion instead of traveling in a straight line was something I had seen in the Lazar tape, excerpts from the government Bible. The Arrival. Another film with SETI. A movie about aliens disguised as humans in key positions on Earth disclosing their plans to terraform Earth into their atmosphere. They present the terraforming information as how to terraform Mars, but it's really about terraforming Earth. The movie They Live also was about aliens altering Earth's atmosphere. The bizarre thing is the statistics they use to show the increase in temperatures would later in real life be used for a case on global warming. Anytime I see Terraforming Mars documentaries on Discovery Channel, now I think, these are the aliens' plans to terraform Earth. The Day After Tomorrow. Before there was Al Gore's An Inconvenient Truth, there was this movie about global warming. The way they depicted New York going underwater was the same way it was depicted in the movie AI, Artificial Intelligence. AI, Artificial Intelligence. Cryogenics, robots, artificial intelligence, New York flooded in the future, aliens in the future finding cryogenically frozen human bodies and learning from them. When they thawed out the bodies, they would only be alive until they fell asleep, and then they'd die again. What does that mean in the larger scheme of things? Deep stuff. Planet of the Apes. People in the audience thought the apes were dumb for their views on religion and life. Laugh at yourself. The returning monkey from space is the return of the prophet all the major religions are waiting on. Code Hunter. The movie depicted hurricanes as a byproduct of a space-to-surface weapon. After seeing the movie, we had a bunch of hurricanes in Florida. HARP? Gattaca. The letters of the title represent the 4 DNA strands. That is so cool. The movie has genetic engineering and biometrics in it. Minority Report. Spielberg with another dark movie. I saw this movie as a news report on the latest in surveillance technology and biometrics. 1984. The scene that stands out to me in this movie is when the guy is in the cafeteria watching the news report about the war in Africa. The news was half-truths. This movie is what life is probably like in many countries that aren't free. You see the propaganda and total information awareness of things that may come with new technology. Let freedom ring. Virtuosity. The movie introduces the viewer to genetic algorithms. Russell Crowe could grow back parts of his body if he put it in water, and I thought that was such an awesome ability to have to heal yourself. That night, one of my friends wanted to show us a scar on his back that he suffered from a boating accident, and it was gone. We then marveled that our own human bodies repair itself. We were blown away by this. Wow, if you cut yourself, you bleed, and then a scab forms to stop the bleeding. Our bodies heal themselves. We have immune systems. Holy cow! It's like magic. I can't believe I could have a cut, and then in a few days, that cut no longer exists. That is so unreal. That is so science fiction. Nope, it's real. Tron. I was amazed when I saw the guy get digitized into the Tron Matrix world. I think in Virtuosity, Denzel got digitized into the virtual world. Repeated technology display. After watching Tron, a term I now call the Tron effect happened. Initially, when seeing the movie, I didn't think much of it. I thought I had wasted my time and wanted a refund on my time that I can't get back. As the week went on, things started happening in life that had me think in my mind, wow, like in Tron. It happened so many times that week that I called this phenomenon the Tron effect. The Tron effect applies to anything that seems uninteresting at first exposure, but as time goes on, the concepts from the movie come into existence. I saw this movie because my interest was piqued in the Simpsons Halloween skit Homer 3. Professor Frink asks if anyone had seen Tron, and everyone denies seeing it except Chief Wiggum, who then reneges on admitting seeing the movie and denies it. I had seen Tron as a small child, but I think I fell asleep and didn't remember it. Signs. In real life, there was an event called the Phoenix Lights Incident in Phoenix, Arizona, where thousands of people reported seeing lights in the sky. A couple of years later, this movie comes out and even used news footage from the actual event. Again, the point I'm trying to drill home is these movies are all based on something that has happened in real life or some kind of theoretical physics study going on. They all have a basis on science, hence the term science fiction. I have to continuously drive out this idea because the majority of people associate science fiction with fake. The actual stories taken literally aren't real, but they are based on something that is real. Independence Day, Aliens, Area 51, Secret Labs, Black Budgets, Secret Craft. We act like the stealth fighter and bomber doesn't exist. We have Batman's plane. Batman's plane was featured in the film with nuclear weapons aboard. When Will Smith beat up the alien in the desert, it helped me lose my fear of aliens. Thanks, Will, for kicking their butt. Stealth. Introducing people to unmanned, artificially intelligent craft. Many watch it as fiction. I watch it as a demonstration. I see the movie as an advertisement to any nation that wants to mess with the US. Don't even try it. Jurassic Park. Probably the greatest science fiction idea of all time. Extract blood from fossilized flies from prehistoric times that bit dinosaurs and then clone it. The statement, instead of asking, could we should ask, should we, has been a lesson almost everyone leaves that movie with. Swordfish. This movie introduced us to the coming global terrorist threat before we knew about it. The movie came out June 8, 2001, pre-9/11. We will bring their wars to them, Stan. If you could develop the cure for cancer, but the price you had to pay would be taking the life of a little girl, could you do that, Stan? The character's name Stan could be a reference to all of the oil-producing countries whose names end in Stan. Manchurian Candidate. Mind control. There was a project called MKUltra. Denzel had a microchip implant. A company called Applied Digital Solutions manufactures them in real life. People suffered from Gulf War syndrome, which I still don't know the full story about. White noise. Before the movie came out, I had learned about EVP, electronic voice phenomena, by accident. I bought a book entitled The Lost Journals of Nikola Tesla. I thought it was a real book about Tesla's life. It wasn't. It was a conspiracy theory book. There was a section about a guy named George Meeks who had innovated the air conditioner or something and had tons of money from patents. After he retired, he wanted to spend his fortune on learning about paranormal things like ghosts. So he opened a place where researchers could go and research. They invented a machine called the Spiricom and talked with a dead NASA scientist named Dr. Mueller. They actually have conversations recorded, and I listened to an MP3 of it on the internet. It's not really an exciting listen. It sounds like Stephen Hawking talking, but worse. They also discovered a way to photograph ghosts. The theory they used to do it is brilliant. They used light bulbs that had the visible light frequency removed and they installed them in a room. They captured some wavy white spirit-looking lines on film. They communicated with the people in the dead from some place in the afterlife dimension called Time Stream. When his wife was close to dying, they arranged for her to send some sort of message to him from the afterlife. So she sent some bizarre photograph to his email and flowers. I don't know why all of this was left out of the movie. Here is a cool link to a story on all of this. www.worlditc.org/h_07_meek_by_macy.htm. In the actual movie, the part where he receives a cell phone message from his dead wife's caller ID was pretty spooky. Picture something like that actually happening. Deja vu, time travel, string theory and quantum theory, time viewing, problems of time travel. The technology and concepts demonstrated seemed like it was based on something real. They can view the past in real time, 4.5 days from the moment they are watching it. They can't rewind, they can't fast forward. Prior to seeing this movie, I hypothesized that if you could teleport yourself 4 light years away and look back at the Earth's surface with a high-powered telescope, you should see events that took place 4 years ago. The movie suggests the 2003 blackout of the Northeast was caused by their time machine. You use Google Earth freely. Imagine what they have. The time machine. The deleted scene on the DVD is the best part of the movie. The library search machine of the future with Orlando Jones reminds me of what Wikipedia is now in the present. The main character tells the kid, "Sometimes we need to face what we don't want to face." This is very important advice. Confront. The guy with the enlarged brain at the end explaining how humans were divided into 3 races was really intriguing. He explained that if he didn't control the people with his mind, they'd exhaust the food supply within months. Why are we such out-of-control animals? Why can't humans be civilized without controls? Why can't we just be good for goodness sake? Donnie Darko. Donnie effing Darko. More time travel for you to consume. I have a few stories about Donnie Darko that I love sharing. My buddy Ryan called me late at night, around 11 p.m. He was aware that my parents didn't allow calls past 9 p.m. and always respected that. This was before I had my own cell phone. I picked up and he said, "Dude, I know it's late, but Donnie effing Darko. Donnie effing Darko. It's 11 p.m. and Blockbuster Video closes at midnight. You have an hour. Drop everything. Leave your house now and go rent that. You're going to be blown away at some of the details you see in the movie." He's never recommended a movie that strongly before, so I trusted the recommendation. I got the movie, and just as he said, some of the details of the movie were amazing. In 9th grade, Ryan and I both had drama class, different periods, and we had to memorize a monologue for a grade. We picked them out of a hat. My monologue was called Cellar Door, and it was a rant about how the words cellar door were the 2 most beautiful words in the English language. We found that to be most amusing. We thought the whole cellar door monologue was such nonsense, but so much fun to say because it was so ridiculous that we in essence learned how to BS from that. We learned how to find beauty or excitement in the most stupid things from that stupid monologue and the book Catcher in the Rye, which we were reading around the same time period. Something so dumb became such an insight for us. Cellar door to me, and Ryan to my knowledge, is not even fun to say, let alone beautiful. But that linguistic monologue stuck with us and was a huge impact on our approach to life. It taught us how to make something out of nothing. Why am I telling this story? Well, in the movie, Donnie Darko is getting a lecture from his teacher, Drew Barrymore, after class, and in the background, written on the chalkboard, are the words, cellar door. As Donnie exits the room, he mentions to Drew, "Hey, what's that cellar door written on the chalkboard all about?" And she explains that it comes from a famous linguistic monologue about cellar door being the 2 most beautiful words in the English language. And that's as far as the movie goes with that. To me, I'm baffled that it was in the movie. Why? Did the director or writer of Donnie Darko go through the same experience Ryan and I did with having to recite that monologue or even come across it? I saw the movie late at night and my mind was flying in circles as to seeing that. I thought that cellar door experience was just a weird thing that only Ryan and I knew about, and that I had left in my 9th grade memory. And here, for no reason at all, it is on the chalkboard in this movie. What is the meaning behind it? I also saw another bizarre thing from the movie that I had experienced in real life that I thought only I and one other person had experienced. Back in 1995, I had read the Celestine Prophecy and really got into it and tried getting all of my friends into it, the ideas, concepts, and insights. One day, my friend Amy and I were trying to see the auras of her brother Richard and our friend Albert. They were arguing, so according to Celestine, they were engaging in a transfer of energy. So we saw this as a great opportunity to see the transfer take place and hopefully see what colors auras become in an argument. We were looking for an aura, but we saw something different. From Richard's mouth came a transparent, water liquid-looking energy that traveled very rapidly into Albert's stomach. You're probably reading this and thinking, yeah, that's called spit, but it wasn't spit. It wasn't physical liquid. It looked like liquid, but without having a physical nature to it. It certainly didn't look like spit. It was a concentrated but chaotic stream of energy that looked like pure water traveling from Rich's mouth to Albert's stomach, and it moved like lightning. Anyways, Amy and I both saw it at the same time and jumped back and both exclaimed at the same time, "Did you see that?" Because we both said it at the same time, we both tried talking first to describe what it is that we saw. We described it the same. It looked like this liquid energy. What is striking about this observation is we were looking for something completely different. We were looking for colored auras glowing around a person's body, and we found a liquid energy traveling from a mouth to a stomach. For it to travel from a mouth to a stomach is totally weird. That is exactly what we both saw. I still don't know how to even research something like that to see if others have seen something similar, so I write about it here in this book. Hopefully someone that reads this has seen it too. So in Donnie Darko, he is having a party and this liquid-looking energy emanates from his stomach. It looks almost like the thing we saw, except that it traveled in a rotating circular motion and was constant. What we saw was very rapid and moved with the same sort of chaotic movement that lightning travels with. So now, you got a picture being me, seeing this at late hours of the night, the cellar door, and the liquid energy emanating from Donnie Darko's chest. I was flipping out. Then, there are tons of elements of time travel. I was heavily into learning about time travel back then. It seems everyone knows about time travel now, but back then, it wasn't such a popular thing to learn about. I realize now, as I write this, that my dream of people knowing about cool theories and simulation theory and science fiction is actually coming true. Thank you, Discovery Channel, History Channel, Learning Channel, PBS, and Nova for introducing ideas to people. Thanks to Al Gore for inventing the internet. Primer. This movie kept me sitting on my hands in suspense because it seemed so real. This was a time travel movie filmed for like $7,000 or something really low like that. That's what made the movie seem so real, is there were no special effects. The way it was done seemed like you could actually do something like that. For most people who aren't into time travel, it would have you fall asleep within the first 30 minutes. But if you're into it, it's amazing. The characters realize they may run into themselves on other days of the week and have to plan out their travels so as to not affect the time continuum and create unknown variables. They even calculate the idea that their other selves are calculating these same ideas on other days. The concern the characters have for not disrupting time creates such a unique suspense. This concludes Chapter 10, Part 2, Thoughts by the Author. What's neat about this chapter is I'm discovering that I had made videos on my channel about a lot of the subject matter. For instance, the Donnie Darko story that I just told. Near the end there's, if you look at Celestine Prophecy Insight 3, the third insight, A Matter of Energy, or it might be Experiencing I forgot what it is, but it's the one. There's two videos for the third insight. One of the two is me telling this same exact story about Donnie Darko. I'm like sitting outside in my backyard. So check that. If you enjoyed hearing this Donnie Darko thing, rewatch my retelling of it because there's some overlay from Donnie Darko in it. And so it's just cool. It's cool to see that I at least started making videos about simulation theory along the way. And also the part when I was talking about Die Another Day and Harry Potter having the invisibility. I made a video called Dude, Where's My Invisibility? So I'll just put links in the description below to those two videos. They feel like an extension of this video. So, and is all of it a coincidence? All these how I kind of connected all these movies together, the way I kind of sequenced all the events in this part in the chapter. I'm like, wow, it's kind of cool how I made each movie kind of connect to the next. And there was a lot of movies that came out, even in present day. There's another, you know how I was comparing Contact with Event Horizon, Armageddon with Deep Impact. Well, last year on my channel, and I'll link this video too, I connected Transformers 4 with X-Men Days of Future Past, because they both had where the government is able to recreate either the Transformers or the mutants of the X-Men and no longer needs the services of the uncontrollable Autobots or the uncontrollable X-Men that they don't have absolute control over. So that was just a neat thing that I'm still doing that to this day, you know, finding these similarities with movies that are coming out back to back. And when I say back to back, I really mean back to back. I feel like I saw X-Men and Transformers, or the other way around, in consecutive weeks. So, you know, it's just like Deep Impact, Armageddon, same year. The Matrix and 13th Floor come out in the same year. It's like this recurring kind of theme. And, you know, I was talking about that Icarus weapon. There was a third film as well, because I had named, I think it was 007 Die Another Day, The Core, and then I think Code Hunter had a weapon like that, or it was some other movie that came out. It was like a B film like Code Hunter, where there was 3 movies that had the same exact, where it was like it opens up the ionosphere, opens up the ozone layer or something, and direct beams from the sun come down and scorch the earth. Another thing, I'm surprised I didn't mention this first. You know, I had Men in Black in there, and that Men in Black quote is being quoted so many times by the flat earthers. You know, 500 years ago, everyone knew the world was flat. Kevin Warwick is another guy. I've told the story so many times to people. I'm like, look, there's really a guy named Kevin Warwick. You know, the movie I, Robot is probably based on I, Cyborg. And Kevin Warwick is the real-life professor of cybernetics, and he surgically attached himself to the internet, like I said. You should check out some of the pictures and check out some of the stuff this guy says. You know, even 10 years ago, by now, yeah, it's over 11 years ago I heard his interviews. So they've been developing these robots for at least 10 years. Obviously, it's been going on for probably 100, but if even longer. There's another thing. If you look up the automaton, I think that's what it's called, in the 1700s, like 1770s France, there were these engineers that made these like mechanical robots that had 10,000s of parts in them, and they operated like kind of like a watch, like the watchmakers. But it was so intricate and so incredible, like for them to be able to do this in an era before electricity. Phenomenal. I'll try to remember to link that too in the description, because I mean, this is something. And there was, not only was there the one from France, but there was like this like gambler robot that came out in like the 1800s. And how are these things forgotten by history? And these things are incredible. They ran without electricity. Robots without electricity. And, you know, I've mentioned many times on this channel about, you know, where have the robots gone? Because as a kid, Christmas was a big deal. Christmas is not a big deal anymore. But back then, Christmas was like, man, it was an event. Everybody decorated their homes, and a lot of people would have animatronics. Like that was, oh, do you have animatronics on your lawn? Oh, yeah, you see his Christmas display? It's amazing. Yeah? Did it have any animatronics? Like, that was a common thing for people to have, you know, like robots on their lawn. And if you go to Disney World Magic Kingdom or Epcot and you go on the Spaceship Earth ride or the Carousel of Progress, there's tons of robots on those rides. And if you took all of the movements all those robots could do and combined them into a single robot, you'd have a pretty well-working robot. So I'll definitely link these robot automaton videos and Kevin Warwick and everything else I talked about so far in the description below. I mentioned Planet of the Apes, and I have to clarify which Planet of the Apes that is. Obviously, it's not the one with Charlton Heston, but it's not the newer one. You know, it's not the Return of the Planet or the Rise of the Planet of the Apes, any of that. It's the one that had Marky Mark in it. And at the beginning of the movie, Marky Mark's like in a spaceship, and he gets like to the end of the solar system, and all of the radio broadcast transmissions are kind of like swirling around in one spot, like in like a whirlpool. So that was kind of similar to, I think I was saying it was in Contact. 1984, I had mentioned, I don't think at the time of me writing this, I had read the book 1984 yet, which is a shame. It's shameful for me to say it. Oh, I've read it since then, but I don't think at the time I had read it. And to anybody that's a conspiracy theorist, if you have not read 1984, you absolutely have to, because this is, after, actually even before you read Behold a Pale Horse, 1984 by George Orwell is an absolute requirement, because nothing else even makes sense if you don't have that in your frame of reference. So I did the audiobook of it and read The Theory and Practice of Oligarchical Collectivism, part of it on camera. To me, that's the most important part of the book. So if you don't have the time to read the whole thing, read just that section. And I think you could get it for free online at newspeakdictionary.com. Then also I mentioned aliens. So, now with this new flat earth reality, I don't know where space aliens fit in to the paradigm, which is kind of discouraging for me. Space aliens were a huge part of my whole philosophy. And now if there's nothing out there, space aliens don't exist. So then what has all the ufology been about? Who knows? And obviously the case is not closed on flat earth or round sphere earth yet. We have a lot of questions. Obviously they know, but we don't know till we get some GoPros up there even higher. So I'm going to try to keep this one from getting too long-winded. This was enjoyable for me to read and re-experience this particular part of Chapter 10. And we will conclude Chapter 10 in the next video with Part 3. So I'll see you then.